morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am really good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Great.
Let me share this experience with you because I think
Yes.
everybody should do this. In fact, it should be mandated. I think decision making should be suspended for about a week, and an authoritarian rule should just come over you like a cloud. All right.
Okay.
All I did was spend like a 24-hour segment not reading the news, not worried about outside sources, just totally paid attention to my own homestead and to give two shits about what was going on in the world. And the heaviness that I carry with me about this lifted. I slept better. Everything was better in every way.
I have not had the actual news on in my house in probably a year, maybe now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I turned it because I used to I'm one of those people that just like the TV on. Like, you ever just have the TV on if you're doing other things for whatever reason? Yeah. And it used to be like NBC, the Today Show, or anything, and it was just on. And yeah, or even the local news, just the constant negative stories all the time, even if you're not paying attention, or maybe you are. I quit that. I said, no, thanks.
Well, I used to have in the nature of what we do, you have to know what's going on. You have to read lots of articles and find what's happening. And it used to be pretty simple because you would go to news feeds and you would just get information, right? Mm-hmm. And now in the social media world, there are so many opinions that are in there. It's 95% opinions and 5%. So you're almost forced to read something where you thought you were going to get information, and here it's just an editorialized version of what the information is, and you get nothing out of it. It's just someone who's mad that wants to write about it. And so I was spending way more time to be able to get enough insight on things to talk about it intelligently. And I was just getting inundated with all this bot crap that, would poison all of those feeds. So there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
There's got to.
And that's kind of why I still hear about things, even though I don't watch the news, because if you're on social media, you're going to hear about things. And so I'll kind of see what people are talking about, or even on YouTube, you'll get served videos of certain topics. And then I'll say, wait a minute, what's actually happening here? And then I'll go and I'll look and I'll find sources and I'll check other sources. And it's like, I almost feel like that's a good way of finding out what's going on, rather than just one source saying, here's what's happening, here are the facts. If you're like, but I don't trust you.
Yeah. Well, the comparison was, so I'm setting up a bunch of AI systems here. Mm-hmm. And when you're looking into things, when you're looking for specific information that has no opinions associated with it, I did probably 2.5 hours worth of learning yesterday. And the efficiency of that, there was zero opinions. Nobody said how I feel about it, how I want it to be, no skewed data, not trying to push me in one direction or another. I got 2.5 hours of all usable
factual
information. And then you compare that to the same 2.5 hours invested in trying to figure out what happens in Washington, D.C. or in Texas. And you're like, I got 3 minutes of real information and 2.5 hours of crap. And that's the distinction, where even though we're in the information age, it gets polluted so fast that it's not even usable anymore. So like email, for instance, what if there was no filtering on email and every email that got addressed to you went into your inbox? So you had to spend a majority of the time sifting through, right?
Crap
stuff. The chances that you miss real information is off the charts, right? And the time that you then couldn't spend reading that information because you were sifting through is just wasted time. And that's where we're at in the news space. It's great that everybody has access to information, but it's terrible that everybody can put that same information out there.
Yeah, and everything can be called a news organization.
Yeah.
And it's like, when do we start categorizing you as a show? Like, you're a TV show, is what it is. And everyone's like, oh, I watched the news today, it was this. And I'm like, do you understand that's still a TV show that needs ratings and emotional shock value? Like any other TV show that needs to keep someone watching, they're the same thing. but you're looking
100%.
at it differently as though it is a solid source of factual information, and it may not be.
Yeah. But it takes you removing yourself from it, because we get so used to it that we don't even object to it because it's just only a little bit worse than it was the day before. But until you have an event like I had yesterday, and I was like, holy shit, like our society is doomed if this is how people are becoming informed.
Yeah. I was watching Family Guy last night, and they said something that is so true. And I was like, God, that sucks. Peter broke the internet. There was no internet in the world. Mm-hmm. And all these people were like, the Griffin family was like, what are we going to do now? Like, should we play a game? Should we whatever? And it's like, oh no, nobody's looking at their phones. And one guy like, I don't know how to drive without my phone. And he like ran into a tree, and somebody walked up to someone else and just goes, hello. And they're like, why aren't you looking at a phone, you psycho? And they start fighting. And then he looks at someone else and goes, hello. And somebody killed him. And because it was so unnatural. And I was like, I mean, we're not far off. We're not far off from that. Nobody knew what to do with themselves or how to act or what was normal or not normal anymore.
Yeah.
And like,
we're effed for sure. Okay. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
So the YouTube video, right? I am sure everybody has done this, where if you don't know how to do something, you go watch a video on it. All of a sudden you are enlightened and you can do the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Is it smart?
Is it smart to do things that way?
If somebody garners an education from a YouTube video and does it, is that a form of intelligence or no?
I mean, I feel like you needed to learn how to do something, and you went to a source and you figured it out and you did it.
Okay. So let me just paint this picture then.
Okay.
So you're going into the operating room and the doctor says, hey, I didn't know how to do this, but this morning I watched a YouTube video. Does it feel as intelligent?
It's like that. I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express.
So
commercial.
does it? Okay. So give me your brain's objections about it. Like, what about watching the information from someone else and learning something from someone else doesn't feel like it's situated right when it comes to someone who's about to operate on you, or the guy who packed your parachute learned how to do it yesterday on YouTube?
I'd feel like I want you to have more than just that.
I watched 10 YouTube videos. Does that make it better?
I want you to have done it before.
Okay. I watched YouTube videos and I did this a couple times. Is it better?
That's a little better than I just watched a video. But yeah, it's a little better. I feel like the more experience you have, the better I feel about it.
Okay. Does it give a false sense of confidence if someone watches somebody else do something and then they feel they could do it too? Do you think that it allows people to do things they should not be doing because they at least got a peek into it?
Yeah, maybe. They think that, oh, I know how to do it, but they don't know of the setup and the background and what to do if something does go wrong. And you know, like the surgeon, oh, I watched this on a video.
Right.
But you have no background of the human body and what's doing what and what could change and what could be different from that video and what to do if something does go wrong, and like a whole bunch more information before that video.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
What this sort of the necessary part of a civilization is to have a well-defined trust authority. Okay. In technology and computers, we establish those. We pick our trust authorities on who is trustworthy and who is not, right? Mm-hmm. And so we give certain computers sort of on the hierarchy, they get to make the ultimate decisions. And if this computer below it wants to make a decision, but the primary ultimate trust authority doesn't agree with it, it doesn't get to go. Okay, so we establish these. So in old school, who used to be the trust authorities? Who would we? So first off, who did we trust and why did we trust them? So if a surgeon came out of Ohio State, would Ohio State be a trust authority?
Yeah.
Why? What about Ohio State makes them a trust authority?
If they're like if we see them as like a credible source of information, scholars, people that have spent years and time studying things that are now teaching others about it, you're going to be like, all right, well, they must know about these things.
They go through rigorous trainings. They go through a lot of steps to make sure that only the best of the best. Ohio State, not easy to get into. Mm-hmm. Their medical program, not easy to get into. So we've eliminated a lot of people who want to do surgeries and only included people who are the best of the best to do those surgeries. Right. So academics, they sort of had an obligation to hit that standard so that they could be a trust authority. If they want to erode the trust authority, what can people do? Like if they're in a trust authority, to then take the public and start to mistrust them a little bit. What we gave them 2 articles. Like, what could they do in those departments in order for them to say, well, maybe you're not just getting the best of the best, and maybe you're not going to rigorous training anymore.
It kind of depends on what they do when they're at that institute.
Okay.
Like, I've had classes that I went to where the professor literally said, here's what I want from you. Come to class, don't come to class. I don't care. Turn this in by the end of the year and you're good to go. And I wanted to be like, why am I paying for this class? Like, what's the point? If the person who shows up every day has the exact same outcome as the person who never comes, what is that saying about the class and what we're getting from it? And so that to me is like, all right, who was taught by the person that did that?
Okay.
So it's like, what are the guidelines? What are the requirements, I guess, for someone to get to where they are? And if those start to backslide or become more lenient.
Okay, so lenient as in we want more people to go to college, people who shouldn't be going to college. That would erode then the capabilities that are sitting in the seats listening to the professors, right? Mm-hmm. And then we have to stock those classrooms with professors who really aren't interested in pulling the levers and making the best surgeons, because in front of me are a bunch of people who will never become great surgeons. They're tuition payers. They deserve to be there, but these aren't the best of the best. These aren't our, top of class.
Yeah. Yeah. There's someone that's like, oh, I was an A+ student. Someone's like, I barely squeaked by with a C.
Yeah, well, they needed more of my ethnic class, and so I'm here because they wanted to see more of me here, right? That would definitely erode the trust in academic institutions. So we're doing all of the things that erode trust and the things that should be sacred for the sake of what stuff that feels good, right? So, for instance, let's just say you were taking a Taekwondo class. You were like, hey, there's too much crime in my area. I want to make sure that I can defend myself. You want to be a warrior. You want to be able to protect yourself. So you go to these classes, you pay your money, and you're on the mat and you're doing some stretches. And first day, the guy's like, hey, for $10, here's a purple belt, right? You can get this purple belt. And then you're like, okay, but I can't do anything yet. Why do I? No.
I didn't earn it.
You would be respected if you're wearing this belt. And next week, we're having a test, and you can get a green belt. It's only going to be $60. You show up, and we'll even help you break the board, right?
Yeah.
Now you have a freaking purple belt, right? And you're sitting at home, and you're like, I'm a purple belt Taekwondo person. You're telling all your friends. But the test, the real test is, I'm going to say, you're in an alley, right? And an attacker comes up to you. You have 2 choices now. Use what was taught to you because now you're a warrior, or show them your green belt. And the more valuable thing, the thing that I think that would get you out of it, is even though you don't have the actual skill that you paid for, the belt might intimidate them and they might run away. But how many times is that going to work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I saw that with my kids. They went through Taekwondo when they were younger, and they kept advancing. And what was funny is they would have testing day. Hey, it's testing day practice, but we had to pay for the belt before the day of testing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we just bought the belt.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen them tell a kid, no, you didn't make it. You just bought the belt.
Okay.
So if my kids are like, I know Taekwondo, I was like, nah, I wouldn't tell people that.
Right. So all of our trust authorities are diminished. Okay. You don't trust government. Nobody does. Even the people who really like government, they like the goodies that government gives them, but they don't really trust them. It's not someone they invite to their house and know that they're noble people who've got their best interests. We don't trust anybody.
Even to say someone's a politician comes with an air of distrust and
for sure.
Yeah.
So, and then DEI did a great disservice to all of those trust authorities as well. The merit should, I mean, there's 2 factors here. Number one, not everybody is exceptional, and just coming to the terms that not everybody's going to make it. And when someone's serving you, you want them to be really good. You do not want them to be the bottom 10% at all, right?
Yeah.
And so there has to be, even if it makes you feel bad, not making it, not getting your green belt, right, adds value to what a green belt is. And then when you get one, you know, you have real confidence that you can go into that alley and beat someone's ass if they, you know, try to jump you.
Yeah.
But the green belt from the DEI side, they want the green belt to be what's more meaningful. And if I diminish the thing on the wall, right, and make it so that anybody can get one, then it serves no purpose anymore.
Yeah, you want to know that it means something. Like, not everybody has this, not everybody's capable of getting this. I have this. That's really saying something.
Yeah. So if we want to get more women into firefighting, and physically women can't do the same things that men can do, that's great to say, let's integrate them. But when it's your house on fire, do you want to be lectured by a woman that said, you were in the wrong place when this fire happened? You should be way closer to the door so that I could carry you out, and put blame on you that you're not accommodating the person that's supposed to be serving you.
Yeah. And we see that, like, women in the military. At the unit my husband was in, there was no women at the time. And it's not that they're not allowed, but the standards are very physically demanding and difficult. And it's just very difficult for a woman to do it. And there was talk at one point about changing the standards to allow women. And I'm like, are you all insane? You're going to get them killed. The reason it's so hard is because that's what they face and deal with when doing the job. If they don't have to do it, and then they're put in that situation, they will die. So screw just letting anybody do anything they want to do. There's a reason it's got to be a certain standard sometimes.
But that's the sacrifice. And I don't think that we really thought it through. We didn't have intelligent people because the politicians were making these decisions rather than smart people. So here's the deal. You come to a problem. You come to me with a problem, right? Mm-hmm. And you say, you know what? We got this industry that, you know, it was forged by men. And so systematically, they just don't even really consider women as part of the job. So here's what we do. We open it to women and encourage women, and the ones that qualify the merit. So let's just say you have 100 women. And in that group of 100 women, there are 5 of them that could be perfect soldiers. They could be perfect fire people. So we pluck those ones out, and we're not like lower the standards and give them a pass and sell them the green belt if they didn't deserve it. We take the ones that we take both things. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It's not like, oh, you can only do the standard is 50 push-ups and you can only do 5. Good enough, because we want
you did it.
We want you to have the green belt more than we just want to pick the ones that are, you know, qualified for the job to happen. Mm-hmm. That's what a smart person would do. A dumb person would just open the gates, say, who cares about the standards? It's more important that a woman gets that position than a qualified woman gets that position.
Yeah. And even with like, this might sound harsh because they're young kids, but I am conflicted at the end of the school year when the schools are handing out all the awards for different things. And my kids told me someone they knew got the award in gym class. And they're like, I can't even tell you how unathletic this person is, how terrible they are in gym. They can't do anything, but everybody knew that they're the only one who didn't get an award for anything else. So they just gave them that. And I'm like, I feel like that's a real disservice to that kid. You know, like
big disservice.
Yeah. If you didn't do well enough in anything to win anything, yeah, that sucks. And you're going to feel probably pretty down about that. But what's that going to make you do then? Would you not work harder and really strive for something and then be even more proud when you get it? Or like, how do they feel if they're like, hey, good job anyways, here's a certificate? If it were me, and again, I'm a grown-up, so I guess I'm not in the child mindset, I would be like, thanks for the pity certificate. Like, this doesn't mean anything. Like, I want it to mean something.
Right. So let's go back to the trust authority portion of this. So let's just say there were a bunch of like 70 and 80-year-old politicians that were in a federal building making decisions that all of us are going to pay consequences for if they get it wrong.
Totally hypothetical.
Total hypothetical. Yeah. In a weird world where whatever.
In a world.
And they don't really understand technology, right? So how do you get your information when you're about to make a decision on a law or a regulation? You get an advisor. You pull someone in your office and you're like, tell me about this thing. And then it's dependent on the quality of the advisor to be able to fill you up with knowledge. And I speak firsthand information. I've been called in to politicians' office to tell them what they should feel and what they should do about something. And the responsibility is that I almost felt like I was beneath what I was being asked to do, because what is it about me that I'm going to tell this politician to make decisions based on my expertise? Like, who the frick am I? I am totally an imposter here, right?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, right. And so, but think about how many hundreds and thousands of times per day brainless politicians are polling people that are of all different stripes, that are feeding the information they want them to have in their head, and then they go act on that information. That is no better than getting your information from YouTube at all. So if politicians started saying, we're ruling on this pharmaceutical new law and regulation, and I watched 5 YouTube videos about it yesterday, and I'm about to cast my vote, would that seem like a smart thing? Versus then, okay, so if a politician said, I went to a local university down the road here in Washington, and I took all of the experts in this field and I had their testimony, right? That seems like it would be a really good deal. Have you watched any hearings lately from experts in testimony?
I don't think so. Not lately.
They are political hacks. They're no better than the politician. So they're not biased. They come and have a slant and a bias no better than the politicians that they're freaking talking to. And so the trust authority, and that's the real danger in not having an established standard and sacred trust authority with universities. If they're captured with the same biases that are in politics, all of their expertise is going to come. At least I wasn't afraid to give you good, bad, or different. I wasn't slanted. I wasn't looking to get business. I was sharing the stuff that I knew, and I didn't hold anything back. I felt like the imposter. These dipshits have no lack of confidence, and they have no compunction about sharing their most biased versions of.
Well, and in fact, they're encouraged to do so.
For sure. That's why they're there.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you seen like a Senate hearing where somebody in the hot seat is like, I can't give you that information. It depends on this. It depends on that. This is unbiased. This is what I found. And they're like, why don't you just say this thing?
Exactly.
Just tell us what we want to hear. And it's like, I can't do that. And they'll push you. They'll push you. Take a stand. Take a side. Tell us this. Tell us that. And it's like, you're almost not allowed to be impartial and just present facts anymore. You've got to be biased. Like, pick a side and stick with it.
So if there's not a trust authority, this leads to AI, of course, and we're doing our best to make AI as biased as we are, right? So this AI testing that I'm doing, so the way that it works, you have sort of like AI that's in the cloud that's managed by Google and Facebook and, X and all of that kind of stuff. Those have learning models that are parsing through articles and people's social media posts, and it gets put through some metrics and it comes up with ideas, right? A local AI is a child when it's birthed. You install the AI that knows how to do stuff, but it doesn't have any information yet. You get to feed it. So if, just like my Ani girl, when you tell it something, it says, okay, there's my data. So if you said the sun is purple, right? It has nothing to compare it against. To it, the sun is freaking purple. So if you wanted to have an unblemished AI, you would only pick people that feed it information to be the experts that don't have an angle
Yeah.
that they don't want something to be true. They just share with what they know. And if you took that sacred AI, which do you think in the end would be more useful? The one that has to put 90% of its effort in making it less biased by weighing certain pieces of information, or one where you only give it a handful of people that are allowed to tell it stuff?
The first one's more useful.
How so? Tell me.
Well, I feel like if you want actual information and to make true decisions based off of true information, it can't just be fed biased stuff all the time. You're just getting one side again.
Okay. But the depth of information is in rather than 2 million contributors, you have 12 contributors.
You might seem like you get more solid answers when it's smaller. Like if people think it's definite, oh, here's your answer. Whereas the other one might be like, well, it's this. However, you have to consider this, and then other people this, and it might be a little more of a what's the word? Not difficult, but complicated subject matter that you're looking up. Whereas if you're like, oh no, it's this dude, you're good, go with it. Oh, okay. Does that make sense?
Well, sure. And that's really the crux of it. The more people we incorporate in it, the more people are trying to get their information to bias it, to trick it. So if I was in charge of my if I were in charge of my AI, I would be very defensive on who I let in.
I guess I was assuming the first example was a whole bunch of unbiased,
noble people. Noble people.
Noble
All those
people
ones.
were doing this.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, but if I was hand selecting and my mission and my motive was to make it so that there was just truth, I would have to defend against those people who had an interest in making it biased because it helps them. So how do I even pick those people? It would be hard for me. I maybe can name off the top of my head 2 or 3 people who I know that I could have them feed data in it, and I would not be surprised on the other side when it's just truthful stuff. They weren't afraid to say, here's the good, here's the bad. I have no interest in this. This is just what I know.
Yeah.
Everybody else I know, right, would take an angle because they don't know how to not take an angle on something.
I'll say I think it's very difficult for people to do that. Even if they want to do that, it can still be very difficult.
Okay, so let's do a child. You have a baby child that knows nothing, and you for the first couple years, the only thing that child knows is what you have taught it. You gave it its principles and its meanings and the rules to follow, what's wrong and right and wrong. But one day that child is going to wander to the playground, and it's going to start collecting influences from people who might say things different that then poisons the thoughts from your child. Okay, so how, as a mom, would you defend against the influences of people who are playing on a different playbook than you are?
I'd probably give them that information ahead of time. Like, here's what's right. You're gonna hear this, and this. Don't listen to that. Stay on course with this. Like, sort of giving them a heads up of other ways of looking at it. So when they hear that, they'll be like, oh, I knew that some people feel that way, but that's wrong. You know what I mean?
So do you think the more exposure they get to the more exposure they get to people that are not you, is an increased chance that something might permeate aside from the rule set that you gave them of what to discount?
Yeah. I think the more exposure to other things, the more they're going to be like, now I'm wondering, maybe I am going to consider
Now, if you
that.
bubble them and you just don't let them go outside and have exposure to other people, then their information would be pure, right? It would be your teachings, your knowledge, everything. Do you think that's good to have a purer version?
Maybe I keep thinking, I don't know if I would want to give this human being the only pieces of information they know. I would kind of want them to experience other things in the world.
Okay, so for the first level, then you start lending your kid into environments where everybody has been checked. Make sure that you have the credentials, the standards, good upbringing, where they grew up, what they believe in. And when they go into those environments, they're going to be congruent there's going to be some things that they probably pick up that you didn't teach. So they might get exposure to things that are even better, make your teachings even better. And there might be some stuff that they've been permeated, because it almost works like an STD. If all those kids were at the playground, they may have picked something up from somebody who were there. And even though they're good, they might loft one of those ideas or beliefs or untruths or biases at your kid. And now your kid now has the scratches, right? So, but nature teaches us how to do this, right? There's a system in our body called the immune system, right? And what it does is, a healthy immune system does not keep itself in a bubble, right? It gets lots of exposures to foreign invaders that want to parasite and do damage and exploit the body, and the body doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So what it does is it gets a small sample of it, it evaluates it chemically, it decides whether or not this is a helpful, a neutral, or a hurtful thing, and then it destroys it, decides to destroy it and gets it out of the body. No way, no how. Neutral, sometimes it'll let it live, right? Sometimes it's going to just doesn't see it as a threat. So it's going to let it figure itself out. And the helpful stuff, it leaves alone and allows it to do its, what it's intended to do. And so the analog in the real life is you treat those other people and those other families and those institutions and those little interactions the same way an immune system would. And your mom instincts would say that if you've got a family that moves into your neighborhood and they are the worst, right? They're little demons and they've got all kind of bad habits, and you know that the minute that your kid goes over there, it's not going to be a great experience and you're going to be undermined as a parent. So what do? You create a barrier so that that person doesn't have easy access, right? But if they get access to your kid, then you've already programmed the mitochondria to see the threats that are about to come in, and you give some principle laydowns, right? And so you can't teach everything they might say, but you can then take principles that maybe have a black book about that thick, about 2,000 years old, probably even parts of it way even more than that. There's wisdoms in there and principles.
Hypothetical book?
Hypothetical book.
Oh, okay.
If one of those exists. And what you could do is you can pass that information through those principles and come to good conclusions without having to know all of those principles. Julie says, what constitutes an expert in your opinion? Would you actually trust them? Experts have the sort of like a interview period, right? If you can be an expert, it means like I used to be really good at this because when I was selling equipment, when you go to a car dealership, right? Mm-hmm. And you know that the car dealer or the salesman has interest in you buying that car. If you went in there, would you ever expect that you go and buy a car and you say what you need, and amazingly that car is right here? Holy crap.
How convenient.
Totally awesome, right?
Yeah.
But an expert, when people walked up to me, guess what might happen every once in a while?
What they want.
What you need isn't something that I sell, but that guy over there, that guy has it, right?
Yeah.
And that person's like, what just happened here? And they would refer to me as an expert because they got information that even if it was counter to me and my prosperity, I gave them the real information.
Yeah.
And the respect that I got from being able to tell people truth, no matter if it benefited me or not, made me a freaking expert. So I expect humility. Like if an expert was testifying before Congress, I would know within the first probably 2 minutes whether or not they were really an expert or they were a shill for someone.
Yeah.
And experts can be shills and they're no longer experts because of an expert just can't give you the truth. So in the case of like COVID was another example of you had a bunch of smart people that were operating as shills because all they had to do was give you the truth, and then they're an expert because all I wanted from an expert was the freaking information.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at it and saying they've said a lot of things that go in this one direction, nothing that goes in another direction, it's really hard to believe. It's still possible, but nothing goes in that direction.
Yeah, and I've trusted people based off of that before. Like I remember years ago, my husband and I were looking to buy a house. We were looking to move. if any realtor was like, what are you interested in? What do you want? We told them. And then they showed a house and they're like, all right, I don't think you guys are going to like this. It doesn't have this. It doesn't have that.
Expert.
Keep going. I literally had a guy one time, wasn't a realtor we were working with. He was on like site there at a house we happened to just walk in and see. And he's like, oh yeah, it has this, it has that. I was like, yeah, I really don't think it's not the layout we're looking for, nothing. But you can take this wall and you could always remove this wall. I was like, no, I don't really care for that. Oh, well, they'll redo that. They can whatever. And I was like, dude, this discussion has us like hundreds of thousands of dollars in renovations in this house. We're just going to go find another one, And it was like, don't trust that scuzzy guy. I'll trust the person that's like, you're not going to like this. Let's keep looking.
And it used to be like Julie said, where, an expert used to be an academic title. But we have to put another layer on that and say a truth teller, a non-captured academic. So academics are important. I've assembled information in more departments than most experts down the road down there, right? Mm-hmm. So I am an expert in a lot of different things, and I'm a truth teller. So here's the deal. If you pick somebody who I can say like AI design and development, what are my credentials in AI design and development? 0. I have no formal training, right? I don't have any awards on my wall. I don't have any products that I've ever created. But if I were to say a politician wanted to know about AI, I would be a perfect person to bring in, and I've got nothing to show for it. Why? Because I'm going to tell you what I really like about AI and what I really dislike about AI. You're going to get a sort of like a blanket of the most useful information, because I'm not going to just come in and say AI is great. Everybody should put tons of money in AI. AI is going to revolutionize things, right? Because that's just a freaking sales pitch. Even though I might have the expertise in the academics, if I've got an interest in it, then I'm going to tell you all the good stuff and let you find out the bad stuff from somebody else you bring in.
Yeah. I'm like, if you want someone that has a whole bunch of documents and certification in one realm, taught with one bias and one agenda,
like that's what you got to get.
Yeah.
Do you want your realtor that's just going to try to make you do something against your will, even if they have the licenses to prove that they should be able to do this?
Yeah.
If they are biased in what they're showing you, you're like, yeah, I don't trust you. I don't want you to ever serve me again.
Yep. There's what's it called? What's that phrase when when you remove yourself from something because you're too close to it? What is that called? Oh my God. When someone's like, hey, I can't get involved.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't come up with the word.
Oh, help me, guys. Anywho, I can't think of the freaking term. I'm sure somebody's typing it right now, but there are instances where someone says, I'm too close to this. I have too much of a connection. I have to recuse myself because I'm a part of that. What the heck is that called? Help me, internet. Dennis is saying birds aren't real.
What? Why do you?
I don't know.
Why are you dismissive about that?
Birds aren't real. I remember us talking about that, but I don't remember why he's abstain. It's not abstain. It's like a phrase.
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest. Okay. That's what I meant. God, I'm old.
No, it's all good.
No words. Conflict of interest. If someone has a conflict of interest, I feel like that's a good thing to keep in mind when you're trying to find an expert or information. Like, what are you getting from this to give me this information? Right. What, why do you want to give me this? Or why do you want me to know this? It's like, hey, you need to know that this drug is very, very useful. And if people don't take it, they're going to die. What's in it for you? Oh, I also make money off of it. Well, no thanks.
Yeah, you are too close to it. You have too many conflicts of interest. I want to hear from someone. And the other side is true too. If you, so for instance, if you took Julie and you put Julie on the defense of Donald Trump's actions committee, right? It'd be really hard for Julie to say nice things or complimentary things because maybe 5% of her would be willing to say, okay, well, I kind of agree with that thing, and begrudgingly.
Yeah.
And 90% which should be super willing to jump on things that are non-complimentary and be critical of them. So how do you get a truthful median between, getting someone, if she gave Trump a compliment, it would mean that must be really true because I know she doesn't want to do it. And if the pharmaceutical rep says this drug isn't for you when they have an interest in it, that carries a lot of weight, right?
Yeah. And the media tries to do that too. Like, especially when it's an election year, we saw, especially in this last one, people that we associated with one side coming over to the other side. And then everyone's like, oh, look, even so-and-so, even they're jumping ship with this person and they're coming and they're supporting this person. That should say something to you.
Yep.
But then someone's like, yeah, but your person just jumped ship and came over to our person and that should say something to you. And so you could almost sort of weaponize that aspect.
The current one is the California gerrymandering. This was stark. This was my favorite thing of this month. Right. I was talking and battling and arguing with people who just were the pearls were clutched so tight that anybody would gerrymander. Like it's the most evil thing you could do to gerrymander a state. And then Gavin Newsom says, well, we're fighting fire with fire and we're going to gerrymander next time to offset Texas. Those same people, the clutches were gone. The pearls were safe. And they were like, yeah, get them.
Of course we should.
And I'm like, whoa, whiplash there. What happened to gerrymandering is freaking terrible and evil. Like people like you and I, we're still on. We don't have to say anything different. No matter who's doing it, we feel the same way about it, right?
Yeah.
It's bad when Texas does it. It's bad when California does it. We should do less. It's not like, oh, it benefits my side. Oh, gerrymandering. Let's gerrymander.
Well, we're going to do it, but they did it first. Not better.
Now we're 5 years old. Now,
Yes.
now we're 5 years old. So that was my favorite because I know the people who were upset about it last week and now are for it this week. There was a moment where they felt it like, holy shit, I'm a hypocrite. And now
like,
Joe knows it.
That?
Did
you feel the devil by your soul just then?
Or they get super quiet and that they're sitting in a corner rocking a little bit, knowing that they just
feel dirty.
They picked a bad hill to die on for sure.
Yeah. Carter says, best example was Al Gore with his climate change agenda when he was making millions in the green industry.
Oh, and you could pick any of those, like the race hustlers. Those are probably the most evil amongst us.
Yeah.
The people when something racial happens and they pop up out of the woodwork and they make a couple $1 million and then they just kind of go away and then they're just sitting waiting for the next racial thing to happen and then they exploit and that deal. And really they fuel racial hatred. And they have an interest in there being more racial hatred. They can never let that go away because that is their only trick.
Somebody just yesterday sent me a reel on Instagram and it had all these words and definitions. And it says, what is a Nazi? And below, a person winning an argument with a liberal. What is a racist? A person winning an argument with a liberal. What is a bigot? A person winning an argument with a liberal. And it was like all these like names. And it was like, what is that? That's just someone. That's what you're going to get called when you actually start winning an argument or making sense or showing contrary information to what they believe. And no offense, Julie, not all liberals. It was a funny reel.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
Dare you?
Look at all the experts that got it wrong with COVID-19 because there was an incentive to really, and I can't, I'm not going to put them all in the same basket. There were truly people that if this was bad, they had to take extraordinary steps to save people. There were the humanists in that made decisions not because of profit, but there was a whole lot of people that were scaring those people into making bad decisions because they did have an incentive. If you don't think the manufacturers of all the stuff really wanted to get it in everybody's arm, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah. And I knew a doctor back when this was going on, a pediatrician, that I said, hey, I don't know what to do here. Are you for the vax? Are you against it? I don't know much about it. And he was for it, but his office did not give it. And I was like, what? You said people should get it, but you're not giving it? No. And he's like, because I don't want anyone to ever think I'm doing this for the money. Because a lot of doctors' offices, a lot of different agencies got paid to promote it and to push it.
Right.
And he's like, I'm not taking a dime from this drug or anything. And he's like, I think it's good. I think you should get it. And he may have been right or wrong. I don't know. But I could at least respect that he's like, I'm I'm saying this off of my medical opinion, not because I'm in the pocket of somebody. And I'm like,
there was an article this morning that kids going into schools have the lowest rate of vaccinations that I don't even know how many years it's been, but the cost of your trust authority and the CDC exploiting people for the sake of financial gain on vaccines has now undermined when they say something's bad. Do we really believe them?
Oh, no, it's not that. It's because RFK Jr., right? Like, it's just his fault. For whatever reason, it's all his fault. It's all his fault.
Listen, we said we weren't going to do sarcasm today.
Oh, yeah, no sarcasm today.
No sarcasm.
That's right.
Thursday.
Shoot, I've already messed it up.
Yes. So, but if politicians were smart and they didn't just use RFK as the blame, and they said, oh, we really hurt ourselves by taking an institution and blemishing it by how poorly we communicated with the public. We did not do things that allowed people to trust us because we shared it. And the worst part is, if they got things wrong, it's understandable. But to continue getting things wrong once you knew they were wrong, that's what was unforgivable.
And the shaming that goes along with questioning. If you were like, I am a parent and my biggest concern is what I do with this child and how I keep them healthy, and I am trusting all these other people to feed me the best information to make the best decision, and I am unsure, and I need to see some more data, and I need to ask some more questions, and you're shamed for that? Why do you not just blindly trust us and go with this? I think a lot of people got sick of that.
Yeah. If you have ultimate control over another person and you guess wrong, right? There's only two ways to do it. Number one, the first way is don't ever be wrong, and then I'll continue to trust you because you're always right. And why would I question you if you guess right a lot? But if you're wrong, at least you lay it down and that you were wrong. But they gaslighted you. And even when they were wrong, they kept referring and they kept insisting that no, they were right. Like that blows my mind. And they did a huge disservice because now, families are now questioning whether or not they want to pump their kids full of vaccines when they go into school because of the dangers. They just have a mistrust with that whole portion of our government. And now somebody's really going to get sick from something that was totally preventable. And all you're going to get is finger pointing. You're going to say the liberals are going to point at the skeptics and say it's all your fault. And the skeptics are going to say, no, it's the CDC's fault. But still people are going to die in the thing. So there's no smart people that are going to govern this.
And I even with the whole, we were talking about the Epstein list the other day, any shred of confidence, I guess, or trust that Trump was maybe on the side of right with the Epstein list and was going to do what needed to be done went out the window when he started gaslighting us about we're still talking about the Epstein list? What, people are still bringing him up? What are you talking about? I went, whoa, dude, you know damn well we're still talking about this. Don't sit here and make us look like crazy people. You were just talking about it last week. That's when I went, don't trust you anymore either.
Yep, exactly.
Julie says, sarcasm is great, Kelin. It points out idiocy.
And that's what we do.
Yep.
Point out idiocy every stinking
Too
show.
bad there's so much idiocy on the internet that you can be sarcastic and people don't realize you are.
That's right.
And they think you are being serious.
Julie says, you're so wrong about me. I wish every president did the best for the country. I don't expect perfection, but when I see corruption, I call it. And that's why you're well respected on this show, Julie. We do pick on you a little bit because it's fun and we know you can handle it and you can dish
Don't worry,
it right
Julie.
back.
You're not one of the crazies on that side.
No. In fact, we should have a Julie day. Julie comes on the show. We have to.
Come on, Julie. Join us. I saw her the one day. She was like, yeah, I'm not about to come and just get hate on the internet. Like,
no.
We get hate on the internet every day. When we cry ourselves to sleep.
See, the experts took steps to benefit and took advantage of it, meeting people in the process. It's because the CDC has turned a blind eye to the aerosol and its negative effects for too long. Yeah, that's an and if let's just say we're like, okay, it's been 5 years and here's the deal. There were a lot of drugs that were on the marketplace that could have given people a bigger advantage over the COVID-19, right? But if there would have been alternatives, then we couldn't use emergency protocols and we couldn't have rushed this COVID-19. So we were at a disadvantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that would have been helpful, but we would have given up this to be able to get this. That's why we did it. And if we could go back in time, we would have changed that, right? And made it so that people had access to things that we banned, that we made it unavailable to people. And that kind of talk would have at least reeled me in and said, okay, well, at least there's some conscience somewhere in government. At least they can say that they were in a predicament and they made some bad choices, and here's what they were.
We did the best we could with what we had in a desperate situation. We learned from this. We'll never let this happen again.
Exactly.
Like any verbiage like that would have been okay, something.
Right. And so how many of the things that caused the problem have been fixed at this point? Probably zero. If we hit a pandemic tomorrow and they have to do emergency production of a vaccine, and there's still some kind of guideline that says you can't have any other alternatives, are they going to be like, what are we going to do this time?
Yeah. Nope. Julie says, I truly have a fear of public speaking. I can write, but I get tongue-tied when speaking. Also, I make weird faces. Hello. I make weird faces every day. That is interesting, though. I was a communications major in college, and we learned public speaking is the number one fear of people, more so than death. People would rather die than speak publicly, which to me is crazy because I can find it a bit nerve-wracking, but I don't mind it if I know what I'm talking about. But
okay, so here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. And this governs a lot of social media as well, and why people behave that certain way. But it's changing too. So we can talk both of these things. So number one, people do not like to be judged, right?
Yeah.
To be able to be thought of as stupid.
Oh, so Carter says, I'm with Julie. They agree.
See, unity.
Sorry, go on.
So anyway, when people are speaking and you have 1,000 people's eyes locked on you, part of your brain says, how many of these people are judging me right now? How many people think I'm stupid? How many ugly? I just messed up a word. And you get this spiraling effect where you start hearing your heartbeat in your ears and you can't see anything anymore. And the anxiety.
Forget everything you wanted to say.
So everybody has that moment of that panic that happens. Now, people who do it often get beyond that moment and they're able to calm themselves down and put different thoughts in their head. And who cares if people are judging me? And when you go on social media and people do judge you and make you mad and make you feel stupid, it desensitizes you from the judgment of others. Like if you took an Amish dude, and this is the stereotype of Amish. Okay. So a person that's just had a very vanilla upbringing. They don't even know curse words. That strata, right?
Me. I'm just
Kelin. Yes, Kelin. And if you took them and exposed them to the conversations on X, right? And they see mean words and they see people just batting each other over the freaking head any chance they get. Me, I'd be like, oh, that's just the nature of the Wild West. That's just how we operate. We shoot people. We misbehave. We are mean people for no reason. Nature. And this Amish person would be looking at it like that, like, this is demonic. This is the plague of demons, and you all are going to die. Stop doing this, right?
Yeah, I remember when we started doing this, and you warned me time and time again, do not read the comments, do not read the comments. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to not read the comments. I got to see what people are saying. And it's mean just to be mean. And in the beginning, like it was real hard for me. Like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like I must be a freaking idiot and I never know what I'm talking about and I don't use the right words and people are saying all these mean things about me and maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe they are going to change my mind. And then you could say anything. You could be like, oh, it's cloudy outside. You're so stupid. It's not cloudy. How can you not see there's a little bit of sun out there? What a moron. There's sun behind the clouds. That means it's not cloudy. And you're like, oh shit. I literally, like, you can't say anything without somebody arguing And even if their argument is completely unfounded and completely ridiculous, it's going to happen. So then when you kind of accept that, you're like, oh, well, screw them.
Yeah.
Might as well just have
But
fun.
this is helpful. And this, see, I have a couple of sparring partners when it comes to discussing things.
Mm-hmm.
Julie is probably one of my favorites because there's one thing that Julie has never done.
Mm.
And when you disagree with someone, if you look to insult them or say nasty things about them, you are dead to me. Like
Yes.
the weight of your arguments always go down. At least I know that Julie has reasons and logic, and she can explain her position without trying to undermine me. And it's hard. It's really hard with me. I carry myself with a lot of intelligence into conversations. There are very few people who can outright own me because I'm scattered on all kinds of different, intelligence levels and all kinds of different departments. So when somebody says like, Joe, you're an idiot, right? That's an invitation to me. That wasn't an insult. That's a freaking invitation. And
You're
part of me
like,
says,
challenge accepted.
yeah, is this a worthwhile thing where I'm going to now, just come over top of you and then insult you and be as bad as you? I'm like, no, here's what I'm going to do. And I used to do this on the radio. It's my favorite thing. So on the radio was just as bad as social media. If people disagreed with you, would just insult you. And we had a text messaging thing where they would send you text messages all show long. And most of the hosts would take the mean ones and they wouldn't read them on the air. I read every single one of them. And some of my favorites were, you have more hair than brains, and that's saying something. Okay. So I would read something like that. And I would give credit for the clever comment of hair than brains. And I'm like, are you counting the beard or are you just counting the scalp portion? And I have the ability to rank on myself for sure. And when you do that, you take away that I'm not at all, insulted by it, or it doesn't change what I'm going to talk about. So it's ineffective.
Yeah. And I kind of just almost just shut down too. Like there have been times where if one of us pointed out something and a viewer didn't like it, the response was, well, you're ugly. Oh, okay. Moving on. Like all that says to me is you have nothing to add here. This is going nowhere. You've proven you are going to be unreasonable and we're just done.
But if you subscribe to the whole trust authority thing that we're talking about, then you don't just take other people's comments and make them usable, right? They have to deserve for you to internalize them, right?
Yeah.
So if the CDC said, take this vaccine, that would go in one ear and out the other because they're not a trust authority for me.
Yeah. Your opinion does not mean anything to me. You have to be someone I respect and want to hear the opinion of in order to be like, oh my God, I can't believe they said that.
Right. If somebody said, Kelin, you're ugly, that would hurt your feelings if it came from someone who wasn't just saying it to be mean to you. They really meant it.
Yeah.
They didn't have an interest in it. Right.
Yeah. But it's you're just being a jerk. It falls flat.
Yeah.
And
don't let my comment linger. You're not ugly, Kelin. Okay. I just
I was starting to wonder.
I know that your brain would have vomited that out at a later time today.
Maybe I really am ugly. All the weird faces I make. Julie had said earlier, maybe a couple crowns on the rocks. And you know what, Julie? Sometimes we do that too. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that does help.
Julie says, never make it personal. That is absolutely true. I love the people who seem to always reply, says the guy in mom's basement. I know a lot of tech people. I know a lot of tech people are really smart. And guess where they live?
Yeah.
In their mom's basement.
I know people
and guess what?
that are keyboard warriors literally in mom's basement.
Yeah. And some of those people are smarter than you. And so don't take the basement aspect of it. Take the real aspects. If you're a dummy, right? Make the dummy aspect. Make the irresponsible, don't have my life together aspect. Don't just condemn the basement dweller.
Listen, I think if you're in mom's basement, that implies you don't have your life together. That's how I mean it when I say it.
It's my apartment. It is not my mom's basement. It happens to be located underneath my parents' dwelling, but it is my apartment. It's got its own doorway leading outside.
I'm in a bedroom in my mom's house. We don't have a basement. Oh. That's better.
That's right. We have an apartment in which I reside.
Oh, Julie says, accusing me of Trump derangement syndrome loses the argument for me. Carter.
Let's hash this out. The TDS thing, because
TDS.
here's the thing. And I love debate. And really, if you are interested in just having a discussion, what you want to do is you want to take terms that are immediately going to short circuit the conversation you're about to have, and you just want to eliminate, because all they are going to do is elicit a bad response, right? So if you want something to happen, you're walking into a police station and they're investigating some kind of crime, you want to not be a target of their investigation. So you would know intuitively the things that you would say that would immediately make your day worse. And things that you would say. If you start talking about the thrill of recklessly driving intoxicated on the highways, if you said that, they would take a closer look at you. So the same sort of rule applies in debate. If there were a Republican and a Democrat that were working on legislation and they needed to make concessions with one another, would I walk in the room and poke them in the eye? No, because then it's going to soil everything that happens after that. Mm-hmm. So I agree with more Julie here, that somebody's got to pick up decorum and say, all right, this is silly. All we do is try to make each other mad, and then we can't talk about anything because we've turned off the intelligence part of our brain and we've turned on the fight part of our brain. So Carter's
yelling in all caps.
Really, Carter. And really, we're not arguing that TDS exists in our psychology right now. We're not. What I am telling you is, if you want to have a conversation with Julie on the merits of the argument, refrain from saying the words Trump deranged. You could even substitute it and say, well, you just don't like the guy, and so you're going to say mean, nasty things because I'm questioning whether or not you can be objective about talking about Trump. I said TDS, but I used words that weren't immediately going to make Trump. Now, maybe Julie sits back and says, well, maybe I do put this through some filters that, skew on one side of the argument more than other. And I'll thank you for the information.
Yeah. I mean, in the same vein, just as though you should not use TDS if you're trying in any way, shape, or form to get someone else to see your view. It's the same way that people on the right have totally tuned out to being called names like racist and Nazi and all this. Now, when that starts spewing, instead of it really meaning something like, oh my God, what an accusation, that is serious, let's address that, it's whatever, here we go again, boy who cried wolf, name slinging.
Yeah, so if you start off with the Cheeto or the orange president, I don't even read anything you have to say. You've already said this one's not for me. If you say Nazi, if you say authoritarianism, if you say any of the catchwords that are just part of the propaganda against somebody, I don't have anything more to do with what you have to say, because everything else is going to be in that vein. And I've heard it all before. There's not anything new that's going to come out of your mouth. So, but if you wanted to engage me and say, I think Trump could be more effective if he communicated that he didn't want to overstep the executive branch. That would be you saying you're afraid of him being an authoritarian, but using more words and accomplishing the same thing. But now I want to have this conversation with you. You seem pretty reasonable in how you characterize what you wanted to say.
Yeah, we talked a lot yesterday about January 6th. And people are like, he totally instigated and incited this and was a part of it and wanted it to happen. And other people are like, no, he didn't. He offered help. Again, say, you know what? I would have liked to have seen him maybe push back on this a little more, maybe be a little more stern with what he wanted to see and not see. And then I'll be like, oh, Nazi.
I'm tuning you out.
NOTSEE, not C. Anyhow.
Obscure.
We're just
obscure.
I could understand that. I could understand if somebody was like, here's what I didn't like. I would care to see a little more of this. Then it's like, oh, you're being a reasonable person.
Right.
And I could understand that. And what's interesting, I saw a post recently online. This video was talking about people need to keep in mind, for the most part, not everybody, but generally speaking, each side thinks they are right. each side thinks they are on the side of good and they are doing the good, right fight. So if you keep that in mind at all times, when you are disagreeing with someone and you're talking about something that you believe you're right and you're on the side of just helping people, they also believe they are right and on the side of helping people. Each person thinks they're doing a good thing. Maybe they're misinformed, but come at it at that angle. Right. Not you're just an a-hole, you're just an idiot, you're evil, you're whatever. It's, hey, we both are good people and we see things differently. Now you can discuss.
Yeah. But there's 1,000 of these things that if you made a list of the things that make you check out, do the on one side. So let's just say we wanted to talk about Joe Biden's mental capacity towards the end of his presidency. It's a conversation that you can actually have. But I could say some things about it, like vegetable Biden. If I said that, right?
Sleepy Joe, you hear a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But do you see what's supposed to be a place where smart people go to lead the country? We have people that behave even more poorly than they do. We have we have leaders that should be rooted out of where they are. Right? Mm-hmm. All the smart people say, this is getting too stupid. Like, I can't even be here anymore because it's just getting too stupid. We can't get anything done. Let's let the smart people win. But we won't do that.
Yeah, and even the people in the leadership positions have gone that route of the name calling and the cheap shots and all of that. So it's like, oh, we now have no examples of how we should actually handle situations.
Right. And hopefully it just gets so absurd that that's the end result. Really, because if you only had a couple of people that misbehaved, if Trump was the only one saying really dumb things at 3:00 in the morning on X, typing in all caps and calling people horse face. Oh, no, that was Biden that called horse face. What did he call? What was some of his? What did he call that? Was it a prostitute that he had sex with and called her something? Anyway, if you're throwing just insults at people all the time, you're setting the precedence that. Now it's okay if at the highest levels of government that's okay to do it, then why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah. Carter says they never see a view when it comes to Trump. I agree with you, Joe, but we all like to push buttons.
For sure.
And Julie says delusional describes a state where someone firmly believes something that is not true despite evidence to the contrary. AI, I have evidence.
So Julie, and I agree with you. Delusion is convincing yourself that something is true. Do you think you have any delusions? Do you think this applies to you? Dennis says, but the media intentionally fabricated the Fine People hoax to foment hatred. Absolutely. I think news networks tried to do exactly what you're talking about. Avoid the buzzwords, but look at how they get labeled anyways. Now, Fox, that's a different beast. They use all the buzzwords because they do it for entertainment. I don't know. I've seen a lot of reporters on MSNBC and CNN that buzzword up and they use the delusions. These predicates, they drive me freaking insane. The predicates drive me insane because here's what kills me. You'll take something that is untrue. We'll say something like the felonies, Trump's felonies. Mm-hmm. And we'll use everything we say to a predicate that not everybody has come to the same conclusion on. So just describe to me Trump's felonies that he has right now. What are they? Because if you ask 100 people, they're going to say, does Trump have 34 felonies? Yes, he has 34 felonies. What are they?
Wasn't one, oh my God, how did they word it? A lot of people want to accuse him or he was convicted of like rape or something, and he wasn't. It was, I can't remember. Okay. I can't remember, but it was a lesser thing.
So
that they get wrong all the time.
So here's what it was. Mm-hmm. The felonies were he paid hush money to a girl to not say anything. Mm-hmm. Okay. Not illegal to do that. Congress has a slush fund for paying people off to stay silent. So far, so good. He paid somebody a couple $1 million.
Not a felony.
Not a felony. And his attorney made those payments. So Trump gave the attorney money. The attorney then distributed the payments. When they were put in the ledger of what those payments were, They were not categorized appropriately.
I was going to say something wasn't categorized
Categorized appropriately.
Yeah.
And in everywhere else, if I did this, if I went to my accountant and I put things that were uncategorized, right? And the IRS audited me and they were like, oh, you said these were office expenses and these were whatever's another category, right? There would probably be a fine and it would be a misdemeanor and I would probably pay out for having made the mistake. It's not something unless I did it intentionally. And if they said you did this intentionally to commit fraud, then it's a felony. But this was 34 different payments. So it was the same crime of miscategorizing something 34 different times, right? So when I explain it to you, and if it were pointed at you and you did this thing, is this something that you should not be able to vote? You should serve prison time. Is this an egregious crime so much that I would want everybody to call you a felon for the rest of your life, 34-time felon for the rest of your life? Would you?
No.
So reasonable people would say, you got him, you tagged him with something that has lots of traction on the political thing, so you could call him a felon, and then you predicate things on top of that. If we go back and reevaluate what it really is, everybody's like, you know what? There's probably people sitting in Congress right now that did exactly the same shit that he did, probably didn't categorize it with, so he's no better, no worse than everybody else. Not something that I would wear as a badge of honor, absolutely not, but
not what you're making it out to be.
Exactly. So, but what Cutter said is the networks now will take something like fine people and make that as the predicate is that he thinks white nationalists are very fine people, and then stack those predicates when everybody else is like, no, let's go re-talk about the thing that you're saying and saying it was debunked. It's not true. You're making it out to be more than it is, but you're using it as an incendiary predicate to something else. And it drives me nuts.
Oh, they did that with the eating dogs, eating cats comment when they said Vance admits to making up this story. That is a lie. That's a total lie. He did not admit to anything. What he said was, this wasn't even a story you guys were covering until we said it. Meaning it wasn't headlines until we told you about it. And they spun that to be like, oh, you made up this story. Not at all what he meant by that.
So, Julie, the delusion that I would levy at you is that you probably think that Trump is a felon and not a guy that for political persecution got labeled a felon when nobody else in the country would be labeled a felon. And you probably think that he thinks that white nationalists are fine people. The delusion is that even when I've laid it all out on how it actually happens, there's something in your brain back there that's going to argue back, and then you're going to carry that delusion forward and still think it, even know that I have laid it out where you should feel differently about it, but are not going to. There's your delusion.
Krista says, do you guys admit that the right does this constantly
Always.
too? Absolutely.
Yes.
And we've talked about this before. And I always say when we were in the middle of the election and they were running, I couldn't stand the crap that Kamala got because she had a rally and somebody came in to disrupt that rally and started yelling things. And supposedly something they were yelling was about God. All Kamala did is say, you're at the wrong rally. It was a clear Trump supporter, didn't like her, was trying to cause a scene, was causing a disruption on purpose. And she said, you're at the wrong rally. And what did every headline say? Kamala hates Christians. Kamala hates God.
Exactly.
Kamala hates. And I was like, no. Like her or hate her, agree with her or not. That's not what she meant.
Yep.
And we all know
But they pounced on it. Absolutely.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Like my point in the beginning of this is somebody's got to insist that there's a level of decorum, or else it's going to be like, well, Republicans did it too, kind of thing. And it's illustrated by the Texas versus California gerrymandering thing. Both feel justified at this point. The Republicans say, well, Democrats have been doing it, so we're going to do it too. And then California's like, oh, well, Republicans are now doing it, we're going to do it too. And this is the most anti-intelligence thing you could do is point out that they're doing. But somebody, where you and I can agree that both are equally as guilty. So what do you do about it now? What's the solution? Have more reasonable people that can out their own tribe, or not join a tribe in the first place?
Yeah. In fact, Krista, if you watch us often, you'll start to see we are not for the mindset of one side or another, as in left and right, and we all fight each other. It's us versus them. It's the people versus the corrupt, AKA government. It's not like, oh, the Republicans are the better, smarter ones, or, oh, the Democrats are the better, smarter ones. It's watch what they're both doing. And for the love of God, let's us as Americans not be pitted against each other.
When it's those guys that are misbehaving.
Yes! It's like they're the ones pitting us against each other, and then we fight each other. Well, they're like, oh, enjoy that. I'll just get elected again next year. I'll make some more money, and if I'm losing, I'll just make you mad about something, and I'll emotionally appeal and tell you, hey, you're a victim to them, and I'll get you to hate them, not me. Mm-hmm. Like when we talk about bills, we use all the time the kicking puppies example. Somebody on one side can't wait to say the other side voted against something. Mm-hmm. They voted against kicking puppies. They're terrible people. And no one's like, hey, excuse me, that kicking puppies bill said that you can't kick puppies, but you're allowed to skin cats anytime you want. And I said, that's cruel. You shouldn't do that. So I voted against it. No. You voted against kicking puppies. You're a terrible person. Because you were going to skin cats. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about what a terrible person you are.
Exactly.
That's how they work.
That's the delusion that even after, if you ask the person, hey, why did you vote against the Kicking Puppies Act? They're like, oh, because I didn't like the skin cats. Now they know. Now it's no longer ignorance that was fueling, like, I would be outraged too if you thought the kicking puppies was a thing we should do. But now that I know, that's the part that I could say, oh, you know what? Let's clean up some bills here so that you don't have the thing you want and an objectionable thing, so that you force the other guys to vote against the objectionable thing. And then I can claim that you voted against the thing that everybody wanted.
Yeah. Like, let's fight about immigration. Kick people out. They're here illegally. Why would you do that? They need to be here, but they're here illegally. That's a crime. Kick them out. But it's too hard to come into the country. Not talking about that. They're here illegally, are they not? But it's too hard to come in. Then how about you and I go work on how difficult it is to come in
100%.
And we right that wrong instead of fighting each other as to whether or not we should kick someone out.
That's exactly
Let's
right.
go fix the process.
Yep.
Oh, what do we have here?
Jerry says 34 were falsifying account records. Yes. Trump pounds radical left, et cetera, into the brains all day long. Yeah. And that's the point of Trump. If you want to know what Trump is, he's a mud monster, and he will go into a game, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't make the game radical left, name calling, stupidity. He said, oh, what's this game about?
He joined in.
And he plays that game better and more vocally than the people who are currently playing it.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't like that because those things you should hate, but it's then reasonable people are like, oh, so he took a bribe. Did you take a bribe? Okay. You both took bribes. Okay. So he's no worse of a person than you are. He's equal to you.
Yeah. My biggest pet peeve when Trump speaks is he cannot give any discussion on any topic of any kind without saying, because the previous administration, blah, 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 because of this horrible leadership in the past, because the previous administration was so terrible, because these previous people were idiots, because I'm like, we get it. You hated the previous administration. You thought they did a bad job. Can you get on with can you tell us what you're doing now?
But
can we move
every
on?
administration would claim the good and blame the bad. And so he's just one of every other one that came through. He's just a more annoying version of that.
Yeah.
He didn't invent it.
I saw the same thing when Kamala was running. I wanted to hear more about what that side wanted to do and how they were going to do it. And all I heard is what an evil person Trump is. And we can't let him win. And I'm just like, oh my God, can you just give me I get it. You hate each other. I need other information other than the fact that you hate each other. Mm-hmm. So they both do that. And what do? we fight each other instead of saying, hey, idiots, I'm not going to vote for either one of you if you don't give me something else here. I'll go find a third party.
Also, his real estate loans, where they said he over exaggerated his properties when financial institutions always have the opportunity to verify. Yeah. And that Letitia James, was it Letitia that also did the same thing? I'm pretty sure that he's not the only ones that ever done it. But in a Democrat's mind, he is the first person to break that rule. And you and I are like, okay, well, if we are outraged by that rule, let's find out how many people in government right now are doing that and clean it all up in mass.
Aren't they always like poking into Nancy Pelosi's money? Like, if you make this much, how are you worth this much?
Oh, yeah. There's a website. I look at it every morning that tracks the investments that politicians are making. So one thing of disallowing politicians to directly invest in markets, like they should have to recuse themselves. There was a Republican that I posted in Florida that I don't know if she was directly involved in the legislation. In January, she made a bet and on a really small caps, I think it was a pharmaceutical company actually, and it spiked 25%. She made a boatload of money. But think about it, like Martha Stewart had access to information. I was
going to say that's insider trading.
100%, and they're allowed to do it as long as they tell and file the proper forms that they did it.
Yeah, Martha Stewart is a felon.
Right. And she just did the same thing. I'd be pissed if I was Martha Stewart
to
watch the people who condemned me doing it every day of their lives.
Yes.
But here's the thing. These people are all lawyers, right? They are intelligent. And so let's just say we have a law that says no people, if you have a government public service role, you're not allowed to invest in the stock market. How quickly would a politician have their brother set up a company? And the company, right, then makes all those same trades. And they're an employee of that company and they get nice bonuses from this company. There's nothing stopping from just making it a more complicated version of what's simple right now. And that's going to be the crux of it, is you're not going to stop it. If I have information that, I just in a bar and someone was talking about a stock that's about to pop, okay, and I got that information from an employee there. And so I got insider information on it. I'm like, I'm tempted to go and buy this stock tomorrow. I know this information. I could do this information. So I'm like, Kelin, it's provable. I was in the same room with this dude. I can't make this stock trade. But if I give you some money, right, we can figure this out. I give you some money, make this stock trade. And then I'll give you a little bit of it for doing the trade for me. And then, you give me the payout. We'll make sure that it's all freaking legal. And then it's not directly attached to me. So if I made that rule and I made it complicated, now what? Did I change anything? I made myself feel better that now Joe can't make those insider trading moves, but it's not going to stop those people from doing the actual thing. They're just going to do it in a more covert way than they were doing it before.
It feels like that lying by omission. I didn't say that, but I did not say that.
Right. So it's going to make us feel good as we pursue this, but I don't think it's going to do what all of you think it's going to do.
Yeah. Looks like there's some below.
And he paid them back. So yeah, it was just the Department of Justice picking through things that they could go after him for, and they went after him for it. And I hope you're satisfied, because now the precedent of a new political strategy is digging through and using the Department of Justice to go after someone. So now in a future version, the Department of Justice going after someone is now applicable, and nobody can complain about it because, you took something and made a misdemeanor into a felony so you can hurt someone politically. Cool. That's on the menu now.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna regret that one, I assure you.
Krista says, sometimes it sounds like you lift up the ideas of the right and you dissect the ideas on the left and why they're so wrong. I do like your show. I just have to jump on and off at times with work and sometimes miss a few things. Yeah, and that's why we try to we repeat things on occasion and we'll revisit things on occasion. Because like I said, we say that all the time. If you watch bits and pieces of our show or shorts of our show, you may get a totally different picture based off I had a family member call me up the other day and they're like, I saw a short on YouTube from your show. And I said, okay. And they're like, it really sounded like you said something bad. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, sounded like you didn't like other races. And I went, oh my God, I would never say that. And sure enough, it was, if you don't have the context, this is what, a 2-hour long show.
Mm-hmm.
If you miss the entire setup of what I said and you hear this much and you didn't hear anything else, I'm like, yep, looks like I said something I didn't.
Mm.
So how often do you think that happens in politics, with news stories? You know, I always tell people, I'm like, if you want to know how I feel about something, ask me.
Yeah.
If you see it on the internet, you probably got the wrong idea.
But important point is that it does feel like if I were to objectively evaluate you and I, and let's put us on the political spectrum based on how we talk about things. Do we put more pressure on Democrats to be more exacting and we take pressure off of Republicans to be exacting? There could be an argument made.
I mean, I do feel like if I'm honest, I like to think I'm in the middle. But if I had to go in a direction, currently I would be leaning right. I'll admit that. I will.
But would you lay down cover fire for right-leaning people as they're your squad, or you don't claim a squad?
I don't really claim a squad. I want to lay down cover fire if something is way off base. Like, would I vote for Kamala Harris? No, I wouldn't. I didn't. But I don't want that to be based off of something untrue. You know, if somebody says, well, you know, Kamala hates Christians and doesn't believe in God, and she yelled at a Trump person to get out of her rally because they like God, I'd be like, that's not true, and don't run on that because that's a lie. You know, same with if I wanted to vote for Trump and somebody said, hey, you know, Trump's kind of loud and arrogant and says crude things, I'd be like, yep, sure does. Like, I wouldn't be like, no, he doesn't, just because it's my side. You know, it's like I'll lean to a certain direction if I think they are better than the other. To me, even though my whole life I would probably identify as more of a Democrat, lately I don't relate to them. I don't think a lot of what the very, very, very far left ones are doing or saying. So I've pulled away from them. If that makes me more right, so be it. But I don't ever want to blindly follow a side for no reason.
Well, I think the political climate, it has more to do with that environment than it does with our choices. Like, you know, I'm an equal opportunity offender. You know, the Epstein list is probably my biggest, you know, criticism of Republicans in general, that they have this stuff and they're in a predicament. And this is the pandemic for the Republicans. All they got to do is say what they're doing, communicate with the public, and I'll trust them. Versus them hiding people that they're friends with from the consequences of doing something that is the worst imaginable thing to children, right?
Yeah.
And so if you look at any of my feeds, that's my number one criticism. Epstein Files has dominated any criticisms I hurl at anybody. I'm almost never, you know, poking in at the Democrats. Now, the Democrats do things on a daily basis that now the misbehaviors are more on the Democrats than the Republicans because they're in a defensive posture. They're coming at the Trump administration. Their misbehaviors are they're not being honest, intellectually or politically honest or in any way. And they're using everything because they're trying to wrangle back power from the Republicans. It puts them in the crosshairs of hypocrisy every single day. Where the Republicans are, you know, they're, you know, much of what they're doing, I agree with, right? Do I think that crime is a bad thing? And if you have to use the National Guard to go in and wrap up crime, cool. I'm less, I have less criticisms against that. Now, if they go into Washington, D.C., and they legitimately start misbehaving and doing things that I disagree with, then you will get my criticism. But until they do that, I know you want me to be critical and say, they're going to do it. Well, guess what? The Democrats guess wrong a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly going to say, because of what they're doing, immediately goes in authoritarian control, and that's immediately bad. I'm a wait and see on most of the stuff you say that he's going to do, because I downright don't believe you at this point.
Yeah. And I'm someone, so I was a big fan of RFK Jr. I still like him. I would have voted for him if he was running for president. Ultimately, things changed. and I still like him. So if I were to ever say, what do I get defensive about someone? I probably do. I probably have an emotional tie with him and the Maha movement. However, when I hear anything that paints him in a bad light or goes against what I thought his movement was, I go look at it. Like, I'm not going to be like, no, he wouldn't say that. I just go, oh, I hope that's not true. Please tell me you didn't go to the dark side already. Like, and I go and I research and I look. Am I hoping it was untrue? Absolutely, I am. I'm hoping I find evidence to the contrary. But I'm not just going to turn a blind eye and say, oh, I like this guy and he can do no wrong. It's if I see that you changed your tune and you sold your soul and you went to the dark side and you're no longer doing what I thought was virtuous and right in you, then we're done like anyone else is. But I'm going to hope you don't. And I'm going to hold on to hope.
So are there any fears with him? If you went to the dark side, where would you think that would be?
I always have the fear that anything he wants to accomplish will take money, will take power, will take effort from people that are either corrupt or have an agenda. I fear that he, of course, is now in this game of you got to play dirty and play the game to get anything done. And so that concerns me, that if he does need to actually accomplish something, he'll have to give a little to the dark side to accomplish it. And so, yeah, I'm sure he nor anyone else will ever be painted like this lily white person of integrity. I think that's impossible.
Well, the machine has its own immune system. When you join that machine, it'll let you operate a little bit so the public thinks that you're doing something. But when you get too close to something that can't happen, that's where we're at with the Epstein files.
Yeah.
They're really in control. It's not a conspiracy theory that say that the deep state is an actual thing. There are unelected people that have power and control. And if you get too close to their interests, they have 1,000 ways that you will be no more. Yep. And I watched people that I knew personally walk up to the machine and only got on the peripheral of the machine. And you watch them change significantly where what they said and they thought they can do, when they started experiencing how government actually function, they were like, oh shit. Like, yeah, I'm not going to martyr myself, have me destroyed, not be able to be effective anyway, because a single person, that machine can destroy in 2 seconds. They can take your credibility. They can destroy you financially. We've seen they can try to tag you with felonies and ruin everything about you. Yeah. And you're sitting there on the sideline saying, I've got like a 1% chance that I'm going to be effective anyway. You put it in that I'm going to be destroyed as the most probable outcome. I'm going to play a little bit nicer than I intended to when I came through the door. And that's how corruption owns people. It's not even really through blackmail. It's through just the leverage of what they can do to you if you don't play the game.
Yeah, I think we are so quick to accuse people of lying. Not that politicians don't ever lie, but I've heard so many times examples of people that ran on an idea. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then they never do. And everyone's like, oh, what a liar. You didn't do it. And I'm like, were they lying at the time? Or was it they got in position and saw a whole other vast group of variables that are like, oh, crap. Yeah, that's going to have to wait. Well, I can't.
You've seen enough spy movies and things about CIA, FBI, covert, and all that kind of stuff, right? So think about an institution like RFK Jr. Is it just him in an office and he just can do everything?
No.
Okay. He has a staff, right?
Yeah.
And how many people you think work directly below RFK Jr.?
Oh, God, I don't know.
Okay. So he probably has less than 50 people who directly report to him. And then underneath those people, there are hundreds and thousands of people that then directly report to him. So in order for him to get anything done, his level of trust below him has to be people who are uncorruptible, are on his playbook, won't leak, won't undermine, won't sabotage. So if I'm the deep state and I'm like, this RFK Jr. guy, he's getting pretty close to things that are going to really disrupt things, and I don't like that. Should I go after him? No. I'm going to work from the bottom up, right? And I've got all this money that I could spread. I got all of this blackmail that I can set up. All I need to own is like 10 or 12 people underneath his umbrella. And I can own him because then I can totally disrupt everything. I can have those people do things that he's ultimately going to have to take, possession of whatever they did. It's going to be his wrong and not their wrong. He's not going to throw an aide under the bus. We can figure out what he's doing by compromising them from an informational standpoint, and then we can actively work against him. There is no insulation between what the deep state can gather on you and how they can influence what happens in that department. So he's not close enough to be destroyed yet, but he will be. And the other part of the problem, if you're feeling that way, you know that he's a degree away from that dark side. So do they. And all they have to do is feed that dark side, set it up so the thing you're afraid of that he's gonna do happens in a small dose. Now he loses support from the only people who will, carry him through this. Once you're gone, he's done. Now he doesn't have public support. He has saboteurs, Shakespeare style in his umbrella. He's done. And they know this. And it would be so easy to pull off. And you'll never knew who sent that stuff up the chain of command.
Yeah. I mean, two things. One, anybody that's ever even in business, held a managerial position, if you've owned a business, even military, the person in charge can be so easily screwed by the people they are leading.
Exactly.
They can screw up and it's on you now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you could do about it.
Right.
You can only do so much before it's on them, but you're held accountable. You see it in everyday life. And then look at Elon Musk in his Joe Rogan interview where he was like, there are so many things I could say, but I will be ended. I will be ended. And it's like, that's known. So not only can you be ended career-wise, reputation-wise, you can literally be taken out. And we just think, oh, all they have to do is this. All they have to do is that.
Well, as a regular citizen, when somebody says something like that, part of your brain says, how could that be true? How could somebody in government kill another person for information's sake? Right? Mm-hmm. And then the second part is, how do we stop that? How do we make it so that that's not even a possibility? And the deal is no such thing as that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say our government is not allowed to kill people. Not allowed to kill people. Do you think CIA, FBI ever take anybody out because they pose a national security risk? Do you think anybody's ever ended?
Yeah.
Okay. So as long as I can think national security risk, then I can legitimately take you out. So if anybody's allowed to kill, then everybody's allowed to kill. All you have to do is loosely disguise it. So let's just say RFK Jr. disrupts vaccines, and vaccines mean that somebody is going to, lots of people are going to die, and that poses a national security risk. I can pretty much justify going up to killing you, right? Mm-hmm. And declare it as something that posed a national security threat.
Oh, I was just talking to somebody about this recently with the military, and this wave of soldiers that were all part of Operation
Warp Speed.
No, not Iraqi Freedom. Jesus, I don't have words today. Terrorism, the fight against terrorism or whatever. He's like, that's a very large umbrella that you could have. You go anywhere. You go anywhere and do anything. This is a part of a terrorism threat. Oh, this is Operation Fight Against Terrorism. Somebody's scared.
Did you cause it? They're terrified. You're a terrorist. And that's what I'm saying. Like we would accept under certain circumstances that we do something we normally wouldn't do for the sake of something that we want to avoid, right? Mm-hmm. But as soon as you give that power to somebody in government, they're thinking of 100 other ways to wield this as a weapon, not in the spirit of how it was intended. That's just the nature of it. So if you give it, there's got to be so much responsibility tied to it.
Yeah.
Right. So we talked about the vaccines, and they needed an emergency response. And there's a rule that says you can only do emergency response as if there are no other drugs that can do this. Right. Mm-hmm. So what's the spirit of that rule? Why do you think that somebody said you can't do an emergency response if there are other drugs.
You can't do an emergency response if there are other drugs.
It's a counter.
Yeah.
Right? Because once I give you the ability to roll out an emergency response and you roll out an emergency response to give this guy some more revenue on his balance sheet, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, wait, you're only allowed to do this if there aren't any other things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what did the government do? They're like, well, let's make it so there aren't any other things by prohibiting them from being used. Is that the spirit of why that was written into the law? No, it was meant to counter corruption with pharmaceuticals, and then it was used for corruption of pharmaceuticals. So you can't win that game because those people are really smart when it comes to legally justifying corruption. I'm telling you, I have no faith.
There's no way to fix anything.
Right, because they're very smart and they're all lawyers. Lawyers ruined everything.
Julie says, if we have to fight a mud monster, don't we have to get dirty? So you're fighting a mud monster on the team of another mud monster?
Well, I argue that we have a overt mud monster that is there because of a covert mud monster. So the game did not just begin.
Yeah, like who do you trust more, the clear bad person or the covert,
exactly
sneakier bad person?
But that's what you want to think that your side is not capable of that. Mm-hmm. And when they start playing games like Gavin Newsom, this is that thread. Because do you think, okay, so let's just say Gavin Newsom, who gerrymandered California while saying we want to be nonpartisan, we want to be totally objective. And now Gavin Newsom saying, we're going to gerrymander because they're doing it, right? Is that the same guy who said two different things, but somehow this one, it's the same action, we're gerrymandering, but because he had a reason for it, he feels like he could say it outwardly now. Before he said it inwardly, like, hey guys, listen, don't say it in the same way. We got to really lock up some of these districts to give us political advantage. Let's do it. He was the covert version who did it all along and put us in this predicament, but now he's overt, right?
Yeah.
They're the same thing to me. Whether or not you had the balls and the courage to show it before, I like that at least somebody says what it is. So I don't like what he says, but I like the fact that he cannot not say it.
Yeah. Like, you know what you're getting at
100%.
Julie says, Tom Cotton, a Republican that I rarely agree with, has a bill to stop stock trading in Congress. Not going to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'll be token. It'll be a token gesture. Do you notice like the January 6th commission, the dirtiness that was January 6th? Tulsi Gabbard did a press conference and said that there was leaks, like orchestrated leaks to the press.
I've been hearing a little bit about this, but
right.
Yeah.
And here we have DNI saying this all happened, and everybody's like, yes, finally, whatever. What do you want? How many convictions? How many prosecutions? How might be investigations? What do you think the likelihood that somebody actually serves a consequence because of it?
Not going to happen.
So the Republicans are all about hearing and investigations, and they do shit about it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
All it is again invoking an emotional response from the people.
Yeah.
Hey, look what they did. Look, they're part of it. Look, they're a bad person. Well, if they're so bad, prosecute. No, I just want you to hear that they're a bad person who does bad things, and I'm going to leave it at that.
And one of those dudes has 7 more days left on his on the statute of limitations. What do you want to bet? We get to the investigation. Say, we would have totally prosecuted that guy, but
we ran out of
statute of limitations. Damn that statute of limitations. We said we weren't going to do sarcasm. Sorry.
What's Dennis saying? They could flip a tractor over on you while you work on the farm.
That was Jim Trafficant.
What?
Jim Trafficant died. Another conspiracy theory. It's among the
I don't
bird
know about
thing.
this.
Yeah, Jim Trafficant. He was a long-term congressman for our valley. The public loved him because he was a mud monster. He was someone that was wicked tongue, was very verbose. Like this dude, he was a little embarrassing at times, and he participated in
bad in the name of good kind of thing.
He did some bad in the name of bad too.
Oh, okay.
Bad in the bad too, and he got caught up in a lot of legal and they target him pretty good, and he went to jail for a long bit of time. served his time. He came back home and really kind of lived a little bit quieter life than when he went away. I don't think the tractor flipping was someone taking him out, but the game that he played before he went to prison, I don't think he was a threat to start being an informant or whatever. So I don't think the mafia could have taken him out at that point or whatever, but it's still a curiosity. I'll go with Dennis.
He died because a tractor flipped over on him?
He's working his farm and he was in his 80s, right? And his tractor flipped and crushed him, and that's how Jim Traffic.
That does now kind of sound a little familiar. Yeah. Maybe I did hear about that.
But
that is a little sus.
He had some enemies. He did. But he was living a quiet life, so I don't think he was pushing on that. So I'll leave it be a tractor accident and not a conspiracy theory. But Dennis, I'm open to it. If you got more information, I'm willing to listen.
Jerry says, Grandpa always said figures never lie, but liars always figure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Did you see like I leaned on this in Washington, D.C. The narrative that came out almost immediately is the statistics about crime was 30% down from whatever. And we hit this a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
But I was listening to a couple podcasts about this last night. And they started padding their statistics. They didn't like the fact that they were getting so many violent crime statistics in their reports. So they started taking some of the events that happen and recategorizing them as things like somebody went to a hospital, they were almost like diminishing and moving some of those statistics down so that it wouldn't look quite as bad in their reporting. Now, the public, when you have the ability to change, so for instance, when I go to court and I broke I did speeding, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you write up your report that Joe was speeding, and then the prosecutor comes to me and says, hey, listen, I'm going to make you a deal. If you just go before that judge and say that you were speeding, I'm going to take what you did and I'm going to reclassify it as something that's a lesser charge. Now, when somebody's looking through Youngstown statistics and they need to set some rules and regulations based on speeding, and they just need to know how many speeders there were on a period of time. Me then going down to something other than speeding so that I could, with that plea, am I going to be counted as speeding? Or am I going to be counted as the thing that I really didn't do, but they jammed into my report?
Yeah.
Right? So if you have prosecutors that make all these deals that diminish what they end up prosecuting for, how do those get counted in the reports that then you say, hey, we had very few speeders in Boardman? I'm like, I object, Your Honor. I was a speeder that is not counted in that number.
Yeah. And like we see that all the time with drug pharmaceutical tests and different data when people are like, well, I want to see if this was tested. This wasn't tested. It was tested. It was tested thoroughly. And then you see the test and you're like, you did it on 5 people in 2 weeks and called it a day? Like that's your thorough test. Hey, it was tested. Or we talked yesterday. I saw this video. I don't know if this is true. I don't know who the woman was. I got to go back and rewatch it. But she was talking about reporting COVID deaths and vaccinated deaths versus unvaccinated deaths. And it really looked like for a while, hey, all these people are dying because they're unvaxxed. And she's like, actually, what they considered to be unvaxxed was anyone who took the shots and then died before it was 2 weeks later, because you're not considered vaxxed unless you take the shots and then 2 weeks pass.
So, but
you took it, 2 weeks passed, you're vaxxed. You took it, you died after a week, you're unvaxxed.
Yeah. So if they can manipulate that, then really you can't predicate anything on those results, because I want Joe the speeder to be in there. I want the person who someone smarter than me said this person did this and they died, and here's the reason why. I don't want you to be able to take the liberty and say, well, the number's going to be way too high. Let's do it this way so that they're not counted in time, right? And so they're not going to be part of that number. And then so people on the other side of it are like, well, we got to respond to something. Give me the details and the data. The data is meaningless if somebody was able to manipulate it.
Yeah.
Every time we do these shows, I go one level below where I was before in if we're going to be okay or not. And I don't think we're going to be okay. We're doomed.
You're like, we're never going to be okay. We are doomed. Carter says, good show again. Thank you. And I won't accuse Julia of Trump derangement syndrome anymore. Really? You don't think he ever will? Never again, Carter. You're never going to use TDS against Julie.
Carter, you know that you can make the argument without saying the words that just make the conversation not happen.
Yeah.
You can do that.
But I Julie would appreciate that.
Julie, can I just appeal to you? And can you tell Carter that you're not going to call Trump a Nazi, an authoritarian, or a Cheeto man ever again? And I think that would be a great compromise.
And then maybe you guys could hug. I feel like we're having a Full House moment right now. And everybody's
I don't know that reference. What's
Full House? Yeah, when they say you ever see the show Full House?
Yeah.
Where at the end, like something happened and somebody's mad or fighting or sad, then they come together and they talk it out and they apologize.
Every
and
show
they agree,
ends
and
with
then
a
they
hug.
I'm pretty sure.
Really?
It's a Full House moment where it's like everything's made hunky dory and it's loving and then there's a joke and then you roll credits or something. And
okay.
Yeah. Carter says never. Bingo. All right. We'll see.
I just need Julie to say, yeah, I'm in.
Maybe Julie had to get back to work.
Oh.
Look at all these people actually working.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you all listening to us while you work.
Yeah.
So while you work.
Anything else? We got a couple
Mercy. 5 minutes. Yes. Uncle Jesse. Oh, Uncle Jesse.
That was
John
a crush.
Stamos.
Crush.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. You ever see Uncle Jesse sing? I'm
not going to let you salivate all over my microphone over Uncle Jesse without me bringing out Sydney Sweeney on the screen or something like that.
You know what? I'm probably going to get hate for this, but with all the Sydney Sweeney things, Julie says, I love this show. You make me think. Carter and I have a mutual respect. Thanks, Julie.
Julie, can I get you to say that you won't call him a Nazi, won't call him a Cheeto, and won't say he's authoritarian?
So
with do it?
all the Sydney Sweeney stuff in the news, I've never in my life looked at Sydney Sweeney more than I have been over the last several weeks because of this. And while I agree she is a very pretty girl and has a very nice body and is probably a good actress, I honestly have not really seen anything she was in yet, but she's probably good. I don't know if I think she's that good looking. Like when all you guys are like, oh, Sydney Sweeney, I'm like, really?
Well, okay. It's interesting because we went through an era where entertainment I'm not going to call them, fugly people, but they were not attractive. So we're getting into an era where the pinups are there again.
Yeah.
Even if they're not the best of the best, she
looks naturally good, I guess.
We went a long time where they're like, beautiful big bodies that all of us were like, okay, well, it's kind of cool that you're on this stage, but it didn't make my body respond in any way. And now you put a body on there that's even 5 degrees better than the big bodied people who weren't attractive as I wanted them to be. Now you get a taste of what used to be where they dominated. Good looking people used to dominate all of the marketplace because it made people want to do things. And it was an effective use of marketing dollars. And I like that we're at least back to that. And maybe it ramps up. Do you see all the college girls doing their college girl dances?
No.
Okay. So a lot of universities are doing their rushes and they're putting together these dances where
they're sororities and things like
that. And they're very suggestive.
I did see one, I think.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of girls dressed in pink or something.
Yeah. There's a bunch of them and they were all doing it. It was, it was kind of nice to see attractive people in big numbers. Yeah.
So you're saying it's nice to see attractive young girls shaking their booties.
I'm not specifically saying young girls.
What the internet was intended
exactly,
for.
Exactly. Authentic. And I did notice there are a lot more white men in commercials again. There was a long period where the white man almost went extinct in marketing. And I noticed just watching football the other day, and I was like, I cannot believe how many commercials started including white men.
Yeah.
So that's another anomaly.
I never noticed that. I noticed when it went the other direction, but I have to see if Yeah,
you could just include them back in and make it depict.
Have a diverse group of people, not just all one.
Yeah. Normalcy is returning. That's what I feel.
Yeah. Julie says, if I firmly believe he is an authoritarian, but I don't call names, have I ever?
Oh no, I was just picking the buzzwords that, and honestly, just don't do the lazy version. The thing that you know is going to cause recoil from the person that you're having a conversation with. Use words like I would. I'm afraid that Trump is going to go into Washington D.C., see that he can exercise power in a play, and it goes to his head and he goes too far, right? Versus saying Trump's an authoritarian, right? Those two things, one shared what my actual fear is. One just created a noun and then left you to draw your own conclusions. Because I want you to think he's worse than he is, not just an egocentric person who's going to go into a place and not know that there's a line that I'm uncomfortable with him crossing too. And if he goes there, he's going to get condemnation from me.
Guess what? We are all on the same team.
Yes, we are.
Us versus the government.
The dummies. The dummy governments. All right, we're out of here. We'll catch you next week. MLO Bros are in here tomorrow. Make sure you catch the softball game on Saturday.
Yeah, come watch us play softball. Game I haven't done since I was a kid.
Kelin and I and our team, mostly us though, are going to just crush the Mancini team. So come watch us.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for